Alright, this video is called Equations, Twists, and Turns. If you're in my class, this goes with the worksheet that we had. So this equation is just your standard equation. This is actually a 6th grade type of equation that you should know how to do. We're going to get rid of the constant first. The constant would be that -4, so we're going to put a +4 on both sides. And we're going to have 3n being equal to 18. 3 is a coefficient, so we're going to be dividing that out. We're dividing out that coefficient. We're going to divide both sides by 3, and we're going to get n equaling 6. If you plug 6 back in the original equation, it is going to work out to 14. This next one's a little different. We're still going to get rid of this constant first. We're going to add 4 to both sides. We're going to have n over 3 equaling 18. Now, some kids panic when they see this divide by 3. You could just multiply both sides by 3. A lot of kids forget that. One thing I've found recently, I've seen a few kids doing, is they'll think of 18 as 18 over 1. And then they'll realize, oh, this is just a proportion. So you're going to multiply 3 by 18 and then divide by 1. You don't even really need to worry about the divide by 1, so it's just going to be n equaling 54. Alright, this one. You've got n minus 4 divided by 3 equals 14. This is a lot like the previous problem, except now this minus 4 is up here with the n in the numerator. So we want to get rid of that divide by 3. You can also think of this as a big proportion. So you've got this 3 times 14 divided by 1 will equal this n minus 4. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. When we work out 14 times 3, we get 42. And then we're going to add 4 to both sides, and you get n equaling 46. Moving on to the next one. 3/4 of n plus 5 equals 17. I'm going to do two things here. First, we're going to get rid of that plus 5. The opposite of adding 5 is subtracting 5, and you always do the same thing to both sides of the equation. Now I'm going to rewrite this problem. Instead of 3/4 of n, I'm going to think of it as 75/100ths times n. It's the exact same thing. And this makes things a little easier for when kids see this. You just still divide out the coefficient. You're going to divide both sides by 75/100ths. And you end up getting n equals 16. Sometimes you'll have to deal with multiplying both sides by 4/3 or something like that when dealing with these kinds of problems. For this, if it's a nice easy fraction like this, you can just make it into a decimal. Alright, the next one, 5n plus 3/4 equals 17. I'm going to go right ahead and make that 3/4 into 75/100ths. And now I'm going to subtract it from both sides, and we're going to get 5n equaling 16 and 25/100ths. Now we're going to divide both sides by 5. And we end up getting n equals 3 and 25/100ths. You could also see it as 3 and 1/4. So you need to be comfortable going back and forth between your decimals and your fractions. Alright, here's another one. So we have this n plus 3 divided by 4 equals 5. We're going to think of this as n plus 3 over 4 equals 5 over 1. And this way we can apply our proportion concepts again. We can multiply those diagonals, the cross product, and it's going to be equal to n plus 3 equaling 20. And then you're going to subtract 3 from both sides, and you get n equaling 17. Alright, on this next one, we've got n divided by -6 plus 4 equals -1. You're going to get rid of the constant of +4 by subtracting 4 on both sides. And then you're going to have n over -6, n divided by -6 equaling -5. Go ahead and think of -5 as -5 over 1, and now you can just apply the proportions again. Cross product, you're going to get this, n equals 30. This second to the last step here, if you really understand it, you could go straight from the proportion straight to the final answer. Moving on. N plus 4 divided by -6 equals -1. We're going to think of that -1 on the right as -1 over 1, and we can go ahead and apply the proportions again. Cross product, we're going to have n plus 4 equaling a +6. because negative 6 times negative 1 is a positive 6. And then we're just going to subtract 4 from both sides, and there you go. If you plug 2 back up top, 2 plus 4 is 6. 6 over negative 6 is negative 1. So it does work out. You'll always want to double check if your answer works out back in the original problem. Alright, so this is looking like one that you've done probably in 6th grade. You're going to get rid of your constant first by subtracting 4 from both sides. You're going to have negative 5 equaling negative 10, n. You're going to get rid of the coefficient by dividing both sides by negative 10. Now, a lot of kids have been saying this works out to 2. They're going negative 10 divided by negative 5. But when you look at this, it's top divided by bottom. So n is going to equal either 1/2 or 0.5, 5/10. Plug either of those back in the original, it's going to work out to negative 1. This next one, our constant is over here on the left. Don't panic when you see that. You're still just going to subtract off the constant. Do not forget that there's a negative sign in front of that 4. Some kids will think of this as 8 minus 4n, but you can also think of it when you're just focusing on the one term, it's negative 4n. So now we're going to divide both sides by negative 4. And you're going to get n equaling negative 3. Finally, we have this one. We're going to have our constant over here in the middle. It's a positive 7. To get rid of that, we're going to subtract 7 from both sides. So you're going to have 4.2n equaling 11. You could divide both sides by 4 2/10, and you are going to end up getting, it goes on for a while, it's going to be 2.6 equals n, and this means it's about equal to, so I'm rounding to the nearest tenth here. We have negative 24 equals 6 2/10 minus 2n. The 6 2/10 is the constant we need to get rid of, so we're going to subtract that from both sides. Over on the left side, you're going to get negative 30 2/10 equaling negative 2n. Then I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2. And you get n equaling 15 1/10. If you plug that in here, it will work out to negative 24. That's about it. Hope this helps. Best of luck to you.